Today, I have an amazing couple with me at the Getting Married Multiculturally podcast. This is a couple who had their wedding during the coronavirus, and I'm so excited to chat with them. I have so many questions, so I'm going to just let them introduce themselves right away. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, I'm Josh, and this is Anastasia.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, I think.
Yeah, I'm 27 from Vancouver, British Columbia, and yourself?
Yeah, I'm turning 22 in less than a month, so I'm still a baby. I'm still 21. Not a baby. I'm from Latvia, and I came here with two. So my parents, mom and dad, and 7 of my siblings, and then another one stayed in Latvia, and then number 9 was born here. So big family.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys got married just a few days ago, is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, just about 3 days ago.
Yeah. So I am doing these new series now where I'm interviewing couples who had to get married sooner or had to get married in a circumstances that wasn't planned because of the pandemic that's going on around the world. And that's what we're going to be talking about mostly. But luckily for this podcast, you guys are also multicultural couples. So do you want to share a little bit about how you met and how was it for you to date somebody from a different culture? Did you guys have any type of difficulties or any fun with it, or language barriers, things like that?
Yeah, so first one would be kind of how we met. So we both met at a Christian youth workers conference in Abbotsford, British Columbia. And we were both there with our separate churches, so we didn't actually know each other before then. And we were in a session, and she sneezed, and I happened to be in the row in front of her, and I just kind of turned and bless you, and turned back, and turned back again, and yep, she's pretty attractive. And then I just kind of left it, and then afterwards, after the session was over, she came over and just said, "Hey, I love that you said bless you. Nobody says bless you anymore." And I'm just trying to play it off as good manners, and I just was like, "Hey, it's all good, no problem, don't worry about it." And she was like, "No, really, thank you." And then we just kept talking, and next thing I know, she's inviting herself over to our young adults group that was meeting the next day, and had my phone number. And it was quick.
Yeah.
Well played.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got attracted, the attraction of it was there right away. We're like, oh my goodness, gotta talk to this guy, gotta talk to this girl, kind of back and forth with each other. But to answer the question, but just being different languages,
it was hard.
It's hard in a way, but it's also really fun because we get to learn each other's cultures. Like Josh, actually, his mom background, she's German. Mm-hmm. So Josh has a mix of a German and English, Canadian. Yeah. And then I have Russian and a little bit of Canadian, or English. So it's been nice where we're just exposing each other to our own cultures. Like I get to share some of my cultures, right? Josh brings, especially food-wise. Food-wise is probably one of the biggest things that we find different, differences, I would say. But it's in a good way. It's really fun because Josh gets to learn Russian. My parents speak Russian, and they do speak English, but it's very minimum. So my mom especially. So Josh is learning a lot of Russian words. So it has its complications, but it's also really fun. That's just
I'm learning all the Canadian words, so please and thank you. Gets me a long way in Russian. And it tastes delicious. I know how to say that in Russian.
He knows a lot of stuff now.
Yeah, it's getting pretty good. And my dad, he has kind of a similar story to me, where my mom was born in Germany and grew up being raised fully German, and so we actually have kind of now being married, but through my relationship with Anastasia, I found that there's a lot of similarities in how I'm following kind of in his footsteps.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy smokes, how did you do this? The language barrier is so hard sometimes. And he was like, Yep, it was like that until your Oma passed away, and I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh,
But yeah, no, it was something that was an
Yeah.
ongoing thing of like, okay, like choosing words carefully and really being thoughtful of what you're saying and how it's going to be taken in another language. So
Yeah, because like for me, I've been like I've learned English already for the past like 10 years, so since 2009, so 10, 11 years now. But I'm still having that translation within my head where it's going from Russian to English because as soon as I'm in my parents' house, it's Russian, Russian, Russian. I'm with Josh, I'm at work, it's English. And so I'm still like I'm fluent in both languages, I would say. And especially when we play a game or when we're talking, having like serious talks, there are times when I would say something because that's just kind of how it sounds in Russian. And Josh is like, this sounds really bad. Like, don't say it ever again. So we do see those differences. Or like when we play a game, like a board game, and there's there's a
yeah.
timer, like let's say like charades or anything like that. I'm having to translate from English to Russian now, saying that word what it means without actually saying what it is, and having that to do in like 10 seconds or 30 seconds. It has but a few complications where it's
yeah,
like
it's
you
been
need
hard.
to realize that I'm having two languages in my head going through my head right now. And so you see those kind of like hiccups, but they're honestly not hiccups.
Yeah,
It's really awesome to learn. Like
Hmm.
I'm being exposed to so much, and so is Josh with my culture and my language.
yeah.
I have to say, like your accent is like non-existing. I don't know how you did that.
I'm pretty sure it's the accent. I think what helped is just I like working a lot and being exposed to a lot of English speaking. But I when I listen to myself on the radio, on the TV, or on the whatever, I can really hear my accent. I don't know.
That sounds pretty good to me. But yeah,
No,
no,
it's
there's
yeah.
yeah,
I wouldn't even think, like I wouldn't even assume that that's not your first language, you know? Yeah. But I can still relate to with you with so many things. It's so true. I just sometimes I can't remember something or I just want to say it in the way it is in Hungarian and it
Yeah,
comes out and
yeah,
we just laugh with my husband. Like we don't take it too seriously or I'm not embarrassed to make mistakes. And I think that's the good relationship when you can just go with it and have fun with it, right?
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, a
Yeah.
100%.
So you want to share a little bit about, let's get into when did you started to talk about getting married or do you have any proposal stories that you want to share?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So, but before we get to the
Uh-huh.
proposal, our relationship, when Josh and I stepped into a relationship, we have started in a really serious foundation in our relationship where the first conversation we had is, do you potentially see getting married to me? Because Josh at that point was 26 and I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And we were just like, like, even though I'm 20 years old, I'm not wasting my time. I'm not dating guys around. I'm not interested whatsoever. And Josh at 26, he's ready to settle down and just have his family. And so he's also like ready to get married. And so before we even started dating, we had that conversation of if we're pursuing this relationship, it will get to marriage, or at least it will try to get it to marriage.
Yeah.
And so we dated for about 8 months until we got engaged. Yeah, it was like 8.5, maybe even closer to 9. And we've
Yeah,
always,
pretty close.
yeah, and we've always said that whenever we do get engaged, we wanted about a 6-month engagement before we actually have the wedding. But Josh can tell you about our engagement. He's the one who planned it.
Yeah. So the plan for the engagement was basically because we went from dating to engaged to, well, from dating to engaged was fairly short by most people's standards now. As kind of I started planning it around the 6 month mark of dating, and so we planned to. Well, I planned to take her to the place that we went for our first date, which is just this nice little coffee shop in West Vancouver, so kind of right on the ocean there. And we went, and the next part of the plan was to go to the beach where we went for a walk on our first date as well. So I was like, it's going to be great. We'll go there. And the plan was she hadn't met any of my cousins who live kind of nearby, and I had them all come and be photographers, so they could all be just walking around
Yeah,
and
just
hanging
strangers
out
for
because
me.
she doesn't know who they are.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that
So,
idea.
so I had that all planned. We'll say it was on purpose that I kept them secret until then, and not just me being a bad cousin. And so, so we went to the. Well, that's the second part. Yeah. So we went to set up this whole planning and everything, and the weather just said rain the whole week, and I was like, it's September. It's like mid-September was kind of the time that we were looking at, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it just said all rain, and I was like, this is gonna be so bad if it's raining. So I'm just praying. I was like, God, just like if you can just make it just not raining, just not
like
rain
30 minutes
for like an hour, 30 minutes. That's I think that's all I need, 30 minutes. And as I'm kind of doing all that, the second part of the plan is we were going to go to a Whitecaps game, and so Vancouver Whitecaps for Major League Soccer, and I planned it where I had ordered jerseys that said "She Said" on and the number 9. So she said 09, and then yes on another jersey.
21.
Yes, 21.
Because September 21st was the day.
Yeah, so 09, 21.
Okay.
And when we walk side by side, you can see she said yes 09, 21. And I was like, this is great. So got these jerseys made. They were coming super slow. I was like, oh my gosh, they're not going to come here in time. And then the rain thing, and I was just like, God, just like make the jerseys come on time. Make the sun, or just not rain. I was just praying for no rain.
Yeah.
And so we come to the day. I also I picked her up. We drove, and everything went great. We were in the coffee shop, and I'm standing there. We're talking, and all of a sudden, it just clouds break, and the sun just comes through, and I was just like, "We should go for a walk. It's sunny." And she was like, "That's a great idea." And I was like, "Okay, let's go." And like ran outside basically, and go to the beach and find a little spot where I can see like cousins on either side of us. And she doesn't know who they are, so I'm just like, "Oh, this is a good spot." She's like, "Yeah, this is great," and kind of set it up so I made sure they saw me there and they knew like, "Hey, it's going down." And then I proposed, so got down on my knee, held the ring open for her, and had this really great speech planned, and then I forgot it all, and to the point where I was like holding the ring, and she's like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." And in my head, I'm thinking like, I'm as serious as I can get. I'm down on one knee holding a ring box, and she goes, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "I feel like I'm forgetting something. Will you marry me?" And she was like, "Yes!" I like yelled it, and I was like, "Okay, then we're good." And so everybody started clapping, and then for the next probably 10 minutes, she was forgetting everything else except for that moment. Yeah. But I introduced her to all my cousins. And
I was just like, I saw these like girls taking pictures, and I'm like, this is Canada. People are nice. They're probably gonna come up and be like, "Hey, do you want some pictures?" So I was like, it's okay. They will still offer it. And then as soon as Josh got up and put the ring on my finger, he was like, "Okay, you guys can come out now." And there's like 4 or 5 of his cousins come up, and I'm like, what is this? Yeah. And then he was like, "Then I have another surprise." So we walked up to his car, and that was the jersey. So he took out the jerseys on the way to the Whitecaps game, and we put them on, and she said yes. So we went to the Whitecaps game, and they congratulated us on Twitter, on Instagram. They took photos of us, and then it was funny because everybody was like, "Oh, she said yes!" Like, "Oh, congratulations!"
Just random
like
people behind us who could see the
whoever
jerseys.
was behind us and they could read, they were like congratulating us. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then I had also called just so that she could come in late the next day so we could go to church together.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh man, I don't feel so bad about missing church," because her manager had like a complication or something with she was in the hospital or needed to be homesick or something like that. And I already knew, and I almost spilt it when we were talking. And I was like, because I had already called and said, "Hey, what's the absolute latest that I can bring Anastasia in, because I'm proposing?" And they were like, "Oh, yeah, come anytime, like noon is like the latest." And I was like, "That's perfect. I just need like an hour and a half for church, and then she can go to work." And it was great. It was awesome.
Oh, So then how was the wedding planning? How everything started? What was your plan,
Yeah,
original plan?
so as soon as we got engaged, I turned on my girl power and I'm like, wedding planning, here we go. At work, everywhere. Like, no matter where I went, I was carrying a binder, I had my notes, I had my laptop, like, you name it. Like, I had it in my bag, all ready to go. So we started looking at different venues. We had about 4 to 5 options, and we ended up booking one of the nice Langley. It's a Langley Golf and Banquet Center. It's a golf course, and we had decided to have it for April 3rd. And we were looking at like a spring wedding. We just weren't sure like when would people be available. We're like, you know what, end of March is still spring break, so let's just kind of do the first weekend of April. And so April 3rd, it's been April 3rd for the last 5.5 months. We were supposed to be having about 135 friends, or sorry, guests. So guest list 135 people. People were supposed to be coming from States, from Ontario, or where's your family?
Yeah,
Like
Ontario.
Yeah, Ontario, Latvia, Alberta. Like people
Everywhere.
have been. We're supposed to be kind of coming from a little bit all over the place, and everybody was really pumped because Josh has only one sister, so she's not married or in a relationship. So having Josh to getting married is like everybody got to be there. Like
Yeah.
this is unreal. So.
I think they're still in disbelief that I'm married. But.
Yeah. So, and for me, of course, as well, coming from a big family, everybody kind of wants to be part of it as well. So we planned, it was April 3rd. Everything was going great. We had everything planned, bought, rented, like everything. Paid already for most of the things. We got our honeymoon in this November. So we were on top of things. Like we made a list, and by March we were like everything was ready to go. Like we could have wedding tomorrow essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 3 weeks before the wedding,
before the original plan, yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, not even 3 weeks. Sorry, about a month and a bit. We're starting to realize that the COVID kind of started to take place, like the coronavirus has started, like in China and Italy and a little bit of in the States, and we're like, okay, like sucks, but it is what it is. And then
it won't affect us.
Yeah, like we're okay. And then about goodness, like 3 weeks before our wedding, we just kind of started realizing like our honeymoon got affected, our honeymoon got canceled. We just started like, okay, that's one thing. We're like, okay, we can kind of figure out a plan B. And then my sister-in-law, who was supposed to provide us with a lot of decorations, she got stuck in Europe. She's like, I can't leave until the end of April.
Yeah.
So she's stuck, and we're like, oh my goodness, we have to find a decorator like immediately. Our wedding is in 3 weeks. We have to have someone. So I started reaching out to a lot of vendors, just like, I need someone's help. Like, I'm willing to pay. Like, I just need these specific things. And then we started realizing people started messaging like, hey, we can't come out. So now I had to get a hold of the girl for the seating chart. Like, hey, girl, you need
Who's already done it.
Yeah, she's already done it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you need to redo the 15 tables. We're changing people around. So it was a mess. And we're like, you know what? It's okay. We're just going to roll with it. We're going to have a plan B. That's okay. And then just this past Monday, not this Monday, but like a week ago, we see on the news, it said it went from 250 people to 50 people. And
yeah, so in BC anyway, it got limited from gatherings of 250 to 50, and so we were trying to figure out our backup plan. And
because our wedding was 135 people.
Yeah, so we were like, okay, well, we can still do it. We'll change it. We'll throw a backyard wedding at my parents' house with tents and chairs and do it like a nice. My parents have a pretty big backyard, and so we were like, we can make this work. We'll throw in a couple tents. We'll have a nice big kind of white tent, white chairs.
Super cute, like Edison lights, like make it super like homey and awesome.
Yeah, and then that was the day that it kind of hit where I realized that we weren't going to be able to have all of the friends and family that are like more extended because of
the
restrictions. Yeah, there was people that we really wanted to have at our wedding that we couldn't have anymore, and we had to tell them that we're not able to have you anymore, and that was really hard.
Yeah, we literally had to sit and be like, okay, we have 50 people, and about 35 of them is just family. So, and then our wedding party is about like 10 people plus their plus ones. Like we're now at 48 people.
Bridal
party. Sorry, and it's like who do we really want to see there? And it was heartbreaking to sort of choose which friends are closer than the other, like kind of like
Yeah.
put it like a like you're more important tag than the other. And it was very hard because at this point we're like, this sucks because we're not hurting other people, we're hurting ourselves, like in a way, essentially, because it's our friends. And so we really had to narrow it down. So cutting out like 75 people now to like down 50.
Yeah.
And we're like, it's okay, like we can still do it. There's 2 more weeks before the wedding. We're gonna do it. Like we started looking out to rentals and everything. Um and like I think 4 days after that, I get a call from like my sister saying, hey, I can't risk my little daughter like and her son coming over to the wedding, so I'll come alone because like they're too young and I can't risk that. And then Josh's side of family was just like, someone is fevering, like we don't want to bring that out to your wedding. And so we started realizing that this corona thing has been a little bit overtaking too much at this point. And we just had to we sat down, we prayed, we talked about it, and we just realized we really have to cancel our wedding. Like it sucks, but we have
Fully
to
cancel.
like completely, like nobody can show up, like nobody, we can't have anyone over, we can't do any of our rentals, anything like that, like everything from A to Z has to be canceled. And at that point, now that everything is canceled, we're like, it's just a date in the calendar, so we can either postpone it to like May, June, July, August next year, or we could just move it closer. And we just made this spontaneous decision, like let's just get married on a Sunday. And that was on a Friday night, so literally in like 24 hours, like let's just get married after tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, and we were thinking about it because we'd already gone through 2 wedding cancellations. And part of the thing that I'm thinking about was she's planned 2 weddings and potential of, oh, well, if we postpone it to 3 more weeks deeper into April or something, like, oh, instead of the start of April, we're going at the end of April, we could be in a lockdown situation and not be able to do anything.
And then we won't be able to see each other at all.
And then we would be stuck until whenever that ends. And I didn't want to be stuck in lockdown without her, so I'd rather be stuck with her.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep.
And it's also very stressful, just like planning one thing after another. Like we planned a 5.5-month wedding, and then we went down to like a week kind of planning a wedding, and then we're like, no, let's just do it. And then we had 24 hours to plan our last wedding. Like we're just like, let's do it. So it's like, it was very stressful. And just even having a thought of postponing, it's like, we don't know what's going to happen in a month, in a week. We don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. So we knew, like, we got each other. We love each other. There's no lockdown. I still get to see him and be around him. And we've got our family, like my parents, our parents, like mine and his, have been so on board. Like they were just like, no, we totally bless you guys. Like you love each other and that's all that matters. So they're 100% on board. Our friends have been so supportive, and it was heartbreaking on Saturday, messaging, like making a group chat of our closest friends that we have already invited to the 50 people wedding, saying like, hey guys, like it's done, we can't do it. And not only that you guys can't come, we're actually moving our wedding till tomorrow, and just having a small family celebration, and we're so sorry that you can't make it. And they've been so supportive, so supportive. They were like, no, we're praying for you guys are making the right decision. Everybody's like, health matters much more than anything right now. So
and they understood it. I mean, I felt kind of bad for our pastor. He got a message from us
at
like
11
o'clock
PM,
saying that we want to get married in 2 days, and he's probably like, oh, who's pregnant? But no pregnancy, so we're good. And he was like, I just want to make sure you guys know like what you're doing. We're like 100%. I don't want to put her through planning another wedding and then it getting postponed, and that just takes so much toll on your mental health and your emotions and everything. And so we just said, we want to do it sooner rather than later. Can you still do it? He said 100%. I'm here for you. He came out. We had our immediate family, my opa, so my grandpa on my mom's side, came out. I had my best man and his wife come out, and that was pretty much it.
It was less than 15 people. So it went from 135 to 50 to then less than 15 people. There was about 13 or 12 of us. And it's like, and even our wedding party, like, just like the groomsmen and the bridesmaids, like how hard it is to message them and be like, you guys are not part of the wedding anymore. I'm so sorry. Like, it was so hard. It was so heartbreaking. Like we broke down in tears so many times, just just to think about it. And yeah, and then we're like, you know what, it's okay, we're just gonna do celebration later. So we're just gonna do like a very small, literally intimate family, literally so small, just in a living room, small ceremony, just the less than 15 of us, and then we're gonna go take pictures because our limo didn't want to cancel on us. They didn't want to give us money back, so he was like, you guys have to use us again. So we're like, well, okay, let's go take pictures. I mean, what are we gonna do? And then so we still had our photographer because we still wanted at least some wedding photos.
Yeah.
And so
and he was free, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, he was free because he wasn't free. We've already paid him a down payment for our wedding day. So instead of getting a refund, we've used that money to just, like, it was either a 4 hour of work or a refund, and we just took the 4 hour work.
Yeah.
But he was available on that day.
And it was honestly just like God's grace, because we messaged our photographer literally the day before saying like, hey, we're getting married tomorrow, are you free? And he's like, yeah, I am. And I'm like, great. And then limo, when I was calling to cancel, they were like, no, we don't take cancellation. I'm like, well, are you guys free tomorrow? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, good, you're coming out to Maple Ridge to take us. So it was supposed to be very small. It was supposed to be just family ceremony, go take photos, come back home and have dinner, desserts with our family. That's it. Like, it was supposed to be super, super simple. And so we ended up having just Josh having his best man, and then I had Josh's sister on my side. So it was just kind of one-on-one instead of a 10 people. So we had our ceremony, small little cute ceremony in the living room. And then the limo came and we're like, hey, let's hop in the limo, the four of us, let's go take a picture. And so we were driving and we were just talking to Josh's like best man. So pretty much the only friend that we got to invite out of the whole 135 people. And we were just saying, like, we feel so blessed by our friends. Like, they've been so good to us, so understanding, so patient, like continuously being like, hey guys, this is happening. No, it's not happening. This is happening. No, we're canceling. And now you're not even invited overall. It's like, it would have been awful to keep sending those, but they've been so like, no worries, we're praying for you guys, like, do whatever you guys need to do, we support your decision. Like, non-judgmental like at all. They were so loving. And as we were saying that, we started like approaching the street where like our photos are supposed to be taken, and we started kind of seeing like balloons and cars, and we're like, oh great, like someone's having a party here and we won't be able to park our huge limo. But Greg, who's Josh's best friend, was like, you guys got to roll your windows. And we're like, what? He's like, yeah, roll down your windows. And so we rolled down our windows. And then as we're driving, we're like, we know that face. We know that person looks familiar. And then after like 3 or 4 people, we're like, this is our friends from church.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. So our whole young adults group, basically.
Everybody and their parents.
And some parents and family friends that we have, like, there was tons of people, and just through the stereotypical, like, through the grapevine of people talking, they all planned to come together to set up this, essentially this kind of like, I don't know, almost like a tailgate party kind of thing, but for a wedding. And they all stayed in their cars and like came through sunroofs and rolled down windows.
Social distance was at its finest. Honestly, people were sitting in their cars, on top of their cars. They were holding onto their door, but they were not walking away from it. They didn't come up and give us a hug. They didn't come up to take pictures even with us. We were taking pictures across the street from each other. But as soon as we were driving, they were honking, screaming, shouting, yelling. Like, it was great. It was awesome. And then as soon as we parked the limo, we came out, and then we just kind of ran up this street, and we just kind of said hi to everybody at a distance. We were just like, hello, kind of. Yeah. But Josh and I we couldn't stop crying. We were just so amazed at what they've done for us. Just like how much love they've shown to us, just going above and beyond through that. Like, I wouldn't have thought about it. Like, we wouldn't have thought about it, but they actually planned it the night before after about 6 p.m. So less than 24 hours before we had to take pictures. They've got all together. They've decorated the cars. They made their like handmade signs. They got balloons. They got everything. And
honestly, it was
unreal. It was so magical. And then someone was like, let's tune up the same radio. Like, you guys have your first dance. And so it was great because we actually haven't planned for our first dance ever since we've canceled our wedding because it would have been so small and a house kind of weird, kind of awkward. So we're like, we're not gonna do it. But then they were like, no, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. Everybody gets a first dance on the wedding, and here we are in the middle of the street, like the road, like we're dry, like cars drive. We're having our first dance, just like spinning me around and just. Yeah, it was magical. It was so magical. It was great.
Oh my
Definitely
gosh.
once in a lifetime kind of situation. And like all of our friends are there, neighbors from like in that area
Oh my goodness,
were
yes.
walking by, and they all stopped and kept their distance too, and they're taking pictures of us and filming.
Yeah,
And
people were like, congratulations at a distance, like neighbors. We went to take pictures, and by that, like, kind of, there's like a little deck, and just by the water, there's like some houses, and people came out of their balconies, like literally a row of people. And someone blasted "Marry You" by Bruno Mars, and they're like, "Oh, congratulations!" Like,
Oh.
it was great. Like, people that we don't even know were just like, "You guys gotta have your best day ever."
Yeah.
So we felt so loved, and having to spread that joy, that hope, where something so ugly could be made so beautifully. It was just, it had to be said around the world, but we didn't even plan for it. Our friend Jan, who took the pictures that you've seen, she took them because she had a camera. So everybody had phones. She had a camera. She just took a few shots, and she posted it, and she made it public because she doesn't know my side of family. She just wanted to make sure that like my parents, my siblings, they have access to those photos. And but little did we know, like a couple of hours later, oh no, the next day we're like, there's 3,000 shares, and then there's like 4,000 shares, and we're like, what's going on? And then 2 days later, we're like over 35,000 shares. We're on global news, CBC News, national. Like, we've been on the radio a few times. It's just like goodness. It just spread out, and we're getting like messages from people saying, thank you so much. Like, this brought tears to my eyes. This is such a great idea. A lady messaged us today in the morning, and she had said that her parents are in like 70s, and she showed and just shared this story with her mom, and her mom is having like a surgery. And
she's getting her retina reattached.
Yeah, so but yes, essentially like some sort of a surgery, I guess. And so
well, it's what you see with.
Yeah, exactly.
And so she showed her mom, but while she could still see, she showed her mom our story, and her mom said, if this is the last thing I see, I'm gonna have so much hope.
Yeah.
And we were like,
it was just like people, we didn't think this would make such a big impact. And if it does, we wanted to keep spreading, for sure. And we wanted people to know that there is hope, there is still joy, like in the midst of all this trash that's happening with Corona. And all you see when you turn on that TV, when you go on that Facebook, when you go on that Instagram, when you open your computer, the first thing you see is Corona, stay home, like markets are going down, like anything like that. And all people need is just a little bit of sunshine at the end of the dark tunnel. And if this is what we can do, we're 100%.
Yeah, and like we've said it so many times. Just as I mean, you've gotten more of our story than kind of everybody else has. Yeah. But throughout all of it, we've been saying that like how we met was God. Yeah. Like nobody meets someone from Bless You at a conference, and then. We were like, that was crazy, like that was so God. And then just the proposal how it went from like rain. I'm just praying that it stops raining and he's giving me sunshine. And it was just again God going like above and beyond. And then for this it was totally God again. Just like, you guys think that the plan for you was this venue wedding. But his plan for us was this small, intimate wedding in my parents' living room, and then he gets to use this opportunity, like using us, to share just that little bit of light coming through. Same thing, everybody's seeing rain everywhere, and then just like I was seeing rain, and then I prayed for some sun, or prayed for some just a break in the rain. And he gave us sun, and same thing here. Like
honestly though, but it had really like, you know how you said like you guys are very religious, and honestly in the midst of this, our faith was a little bit, you know, it was really like shaken up there for a sec. Like we were just like, God, are you joking me? Like in the past year, we've been going to about 4 to 5 our friends' weddings, and they've got their dream wedding, their dream honeymoon, and they went, and it was just so perfect and so smooth, and it was just so great. And then 2 weeks before a wedding, everything is canceled, everything is down the drain, like literally like flushing the toilet, like garbage, done, like. And it was very, very hard to be like, no, God is still in control, like he knows still what he's doing. And then having that wedding day, we're just like, sometimes we don't see it, sometimes we don't know it, but he's doing something. And so we feel so loved from everybody, and we just want to spread that love everywhere across the world as far as it can go.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can totally relate to that you don't know what's happening, but you just trust God, and you know that something is going to happen. There's reason for everything, right, in life.
Yeah.
And like, how many guests were you originally planning on having? 200, 150?
130.
Yeah, just over 130.
And now you have thousands of people getting inspired and getting emotional from your wedding. Like, it's something you would never thought of having, you know?
Sure.
No, we've had, I mean, I was trying to think, like, the moment when, for me as a Canadian guy, the moment that I was like, holy smokes, this is big, was when our number of shares exceeded the number of people that can fit into the Vancouver Canucks stadium.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's crazy.
We literally have a full stadium of people sharing our story, and then now we've almost doubled it.
Yeah.
We've almost doubled the stadium size.
Wow.
Plus, we've been on our national news. We've been on our provincial, like, main broadcast. We've been on 2 of the local radio stations, your podcast, 2 news article, or 2 magazine articles. Like, we're just like, and thousands and thousands of people are joining us in our wedding day, and I never would have thought that.
No.
And that's the other thing, that you had to agree with that. You know, when your friends shared it, maybe you could have said, oh, just make it private. I don't want people to see it. And you willing to share that with others, that's something that not everybody would have done. And that, you know, that you feel the feeling that gave you the joy of seeing other people getting so much back from it is also something, you know, something very special that the 2 of you decided to do.
Yeah, no, totally. We want this word to be spread across the world, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't us in the first place, so it's not our story to really. I mean, it's our story, but
it's our story to share, but we're not taking any credits because it's not us. It really isn't. Nothing is from us. No,
we're getting all this publicity and everything like that for something that we didn't plan, and a situation or a circumstance that we never could have planned for in the first place. Like, no one could have planned for a pandemic, but just like everything, all of it is like so completely out of our hands, and we're just like the
wedding that we planned, it's down the drain. So that's where our credit should go for that wedding.
Yeah, everything that we planned is gone, and everything that he planned is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So,
wow. So do you still feel the need of having a proper wedding later once we are done?
No. So initially, yes. At first, yes. We were thinking like, we're just gonna do a small little like ceremony and then go take pictures, and then we're gonna kind of like redo our wedding with all of our family and friends as soon as everything comes down. But when our wedding had turned out to be the way it is, we're like, no, this is our official wedding day. This is greater and better and absolutely much more crazier like than we had planned. Like, this is much better than we had planned. And so no, we're keeping that as our official wedding day. The only thing we might do, hopefully by summer everything kind of like calms down and people could start get together again, like healthy wise, we are going to just have like a barbecue and just kind of get our friends family together.
I mean, there's people that we definitely want to share a day with for sure, but yeah, I mean, to take something like, no one's gonna forget this. Like, you want a memorable wedding, and we've got it memorable and reminders.
Yeah, you can't overdo this, or how do you say that? Like top it up, or how do you say that? Like, can't.
Like you
can't
over.
You can't top.
You can't
this.
beat it. You can't.
Yeah, you can't beat this. Yes. So yeah, I that's exactly why I wanted to do these series and talk with people who were lucky enough and who were able to see the light in this cloudy, rainy weather that we have. Like you said, I love that. Um, love that. How do you say that?
Analogy.
Analogy, yes.
Yeah.
And so what and so I hope that your story will give hope to other couples who are still trying to decide, should I cancel? Should I just do a
Yeah.
small ceremony in our house? What should I do? Should I postpone it? How long should I wait? So do you have any advice or for couples who are still trying to decide? And I know that it depends on where you live in the world,
Totally.
that there are
Totally.
different restrictions, but just overall for couples, do you have any good advice for them?
I mean, we have our advice. Take it as good or bad, but yeah, I would say definitely do it. Like we said at the start, like I I wanted to be, if there was one, I wanted to spend it with her. And so for us, it was, yeah, what we should do is we should get married sooner rather than later. And I didn't want to put her through planning a third or fourth or fifth wedding because we don't know how long this is going to be going for. And a lot of the venues and things like that aren't even taking bookings right now until like kind of halfway through the summer.
Yeah.
And so we were saying that it doesn't even make sense to wait that long because we already bought a place or renting a place together, and so we were paying rent together on that, even though I wasn't living here at the time. I was living with my parents still, and so it was like, okay, well, we'll just go early. And I would say, I mean, you're planning on spending forever with them. Why wait any longer? But at the same time, it depends on your circumstance because you could be, if you're planning on spending forever with them, why not wait for another 3 months or 6 months?
But it's also just like, I think the question of like, is your wedding for for people, or is the wedding for you? For us, it was very much so for us. We're getting married, is our day, and whether there's just Josh or a million people or 30,000 people across the world, like what mattered to us is that we're getting married. And I
Yeah.
think for us, the reason why we're like, no, let's just do it, because at this point, April 3rd was a date in a calendar for everybody, for those 135 people that were supposed to be there. But as soon as that got canceled, it's just us. It's just, what are we starting on? Like, are we starting our lives together? And that's what we've been wanting. And so I think it really depends. If there's a couple that's already like living together, they already have their life together, and so that might just be the celebration for them. So of course, if they could postpone it, by all means. But I think for couples that are there, that are starting off their life and they really want to start their life off together, we just, of course, we recommend just doing it and allowing your friends to surprise you, your friends to be there for you, maybe via Skype, maybe via like FaceTime or anything like that, where they could still be there with you. Maybe not directly giving you hugs and flowers and gifts, but that could all happen in a little while, right? We don't know how long, but it could still happen. And
Yeah.
celebration could still happen at any time. At this point, it's just between you and the person you love. And if you're ready to see them every morning and go to sleep with them every night, then we say just do it.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I love all of that. That's such a good point. And even there are some couples who already got married legally, they signed the papers and they were just waiting for essentially a party. So yeah, you can maybe delay that, but like your situation, it really is just about the two of you getting married. Yeah, that's very good idea. So as we wrap up this episode, would you like to share some links, maybe some like Instagram, Facebook, some websites that maybe the listeners can check out these beautiful photos and maybe ask you questions if they want to?
Yeah. I think both of our Facebook and Instagram is available for people.
Yep.
They could reach out, just like right now we're having people reach out to us asking questions or saying like thank you. So I can message you both of our names for Facebook and for Instagram, and you can share that on podcasts or wherever
Yeah.
it is, and people could totally get a hold of us if they have a question, or if they want to talk, or if they want to do anything, talk about anything, or get the photos. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I will share all of that in the show notes. Well, thank you so much, Anastasia and Josh, for being here and sharing your story. I really enjoyed listening it, and I'm sure everybody else will too.
For sure. And if someone knows Ellen,
yeah, we would love to go on Ellen.
Okay, let's work on that.
Let's get us on Ellen.
Okay.
Whenever this all calms down.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's true.
If it happens, great. If it doesn't, you know what?
We're
is
still
what
grateful.
It is. We're still grateful. It's such a cool ride.
Yes.
Thank you so much for
definitely
getting
is.
in contact with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.